So after a 2-month hiatus of no updates on Geonosis, that all changes today because we're starting work on the Droid Factory. Well, welcome back everybody to Building Geonosis Week 7. At this point, week is not the greatest term of what to call this series, but it's a little too late to change the name for me personally. But today we're going to be working on the Geonosian Catacombs, the Droid Factory, and the Trench. Lee Brick Builder Studios decided to come down and help out with Geonosis, and we got a ton of work done. 40 hours of build time was done on Geonosis, and it's all going to be seen in just the next few minutes. All right, so we are starting the Droid Factory. Lee Brick Builder Studios is here with us for a couple days. What's up, man?
How's it going?
It's going well. We've got a little bit of work here to be done.
We're bricking it up.
Just a tad. Yeah, we are going to be working up. So we are starting with what? The trench?
The trench, you know, where they in that one episode where Barris and Ahsoka infiltrate the factory through the trench.
Cut out their little hole to get in those catacombs.
Correct.
Yes, sir. So what are you doing?
So I'm stacking 1x1s right now, so we can do this cool curved rock wall technique that we're doing, just to get the effect of like a sheer cliff of the trench, if you will. So it allows us, by stacking 1x1s, it allows us to bend these walls here to get a nice, cool, organic looking rock wall.
The next massive update, and I need everybody's attention here, is Geonosis is going public in 3 weeks. As I'm making this video, it will be at Brick Fair, Virginia, but it's not what you think. Against all the odds, unfortunately, it's just not possible to finish Geonosis the way I would like it to be finished in that time frame. What I am going to do is finish the entire exterior of Geonosis. So meaning the Droid Factory exterior, the trench, the battlefield. Exterior-wise, everything will be finished for Brick Fair, Virginia. So you'll be able to experience the entire MOC in its full capacity, just not all of its details. So if you want to see Geonosis in person, it's happening at Brick Fair, Virginia, August 4th and 5th of 2023. Only those 2 days, and if you're going, I have a 40% off discount from Brick Fair. Just use the word GEO at the checkout for a coupon code. Please note that that coupon code will expire on July 19th, 2023. So if you're watching this video after that, the coupon has expired, so you have until July 19th to get 40% off Brick Fair tickets. So we've got a lot ahead of us building this massive droid factory from episode 6 of season 2 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the episode directly following landing at Point Rain, which is what we've been building off of for the last couple weeks. Now that we're turning our attention to the weapons factory, or the droid factory, what Poggle the Lesser is, we can now focus on building the trench, the actual factory itself, and later on the catacombs. So while Lee went to work building the trench in front of the factory, as well as the bridge that you'll see here in just a few minutes, I started working on the actual factory skeleton. How on earth was I gonna build this massive factory? So let's go into time lapse and see just that. So next, I'm really excited to announce that there's going to be a 1-week mock contest for Geonosis. And what am I talking about? Well, I need your help building a Separatist super tank for the Droid Factory. Unfortunately, with both school and trying to finish the exterior of Geonosis, I just simply don't have time to build a super tank. Yes, I also realize that there are great designs like from Brick Vault of a great Separatist super tank, but those are far too big for what I need to fit within the constraints of the factory size. So this contest starts literally the second you're watching this video, the second it's uploaded to YouTube. It'll last exactly a week from the upload date, so you can check the date down below to see if you still have time to submit a design. Now there's going to be a couple constraints and guidelines for this mock contest, and there will be prizes, by the way. I'll get to that in just a few minutes. So first up are size constraints. In terms of length, it can't be longer than 32 Lego studs. Width has to be within 16 Lego studs, and it can't be higher than 12 Lego bricks. You can also think of it as roughly a little bit bigger than this Corporate Alliance tank droid. This is kind of around the size that I'm thinking. The next constraint is while you can use any colors, ideally dark tan and medium nougat should be the majority of the design. I believe there's also some dark blue in the design as well. That's fine. You can literally use any colors you want, both on the inside or outside, but it should be majority dark tan, majority medium nougat, one or the other. Lastly is simply the format. Now this build does need to be done digitally, specifically with the Bricklink Software Studio. It's what pretty much every Lego builder out there uses to design mocks on the computer. So it does need to be a studio file. That is what you're going to email me in order for me to order the parts quickly and build it just in time for Brick Fair, Virginia. That is also why it's a 1-week contest. So while I'm only going to choose one super tank design to be used for Geonosis, I am going to award 3 different winners. So first place is going to have the choice between the Episode 3 Collector's Edition or the Star Hopper. The Star Hopper here is sealed. The Episode 3 Collector's Edition is unfortunately open box, but it does come with everything. So both of these I think are pretty cool first place prizes. So the winner will have a choice between these 2 sets, and I will ship internationally. It's going to be an international contest. As for the second and third place winners, the designs I won't use, but I still think are really incredible and should be accredited with at least a prize. Those winners will receive 3 Minifigs for You Captain Rexes, a Phase 1, Phase 2, and Snow variant of Captain Rex. Those, of course, will be shipped internationally, so both second and third place, or the runners-up, will receive Captain Rex minifigures, just because I thought their designs were great, but just not perfect enough for what I needed for this mock. So I think those are some pretty solid prizes. I'll be announcing the winners in the next Geonosis episode. If you go to Brick Fair, Virginia, you'll probably see the final super tank design if everything goes well, of course. That's assuming I can get all the parts in time. At the very least, you'll see the super tank in the finale of Geonosis if it doesn't make it to Brick Fair. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Please email your studio files to the email down in the description. Again, the contest ends in 7 days from this upload date of the video. So we're back after the break, and Lee finished the entire trench. Mostly. There's still some details and side panels to be put on the trench, but for the most part, a lot of the exterior walls are now finished, and you can get a much better idea of what this trench area is going to look like now. I think Lee especially did a wonderful job on the bridge here. It is pretty much exactly what I was expecting it to look like, and it matches the aesthetic of the rest of the Geonosis mock. Underneath the bridge, you'll notice some snot techniques of different rock foliage, and it looks really good. It's also important not to forget that Geonosis is fully modular, so this bridge needed to be able to come in and out in order to separate the sections, and Lee did a wonderful job. After Lee was finished with the bridge, he turned his attention to the catacombs, but that's for the next episode. Now, about a month ago, I started experimenting with Lego Duplo. You heard that right. I'm talking about the 1 to 4 year old Lego product, Duplo. In fact, they have this wonderful cupcake piece and this tubular piece that integrates very well with Geonosis. And I think a lot of you are scratching your head at like, how does that work? For those of you who don't know, the Duplo system actually works with the normal Lego brick system. They actually interconnect with each other. As you see here, I was able to take 2 cupcakes and flip them on top of each other, creating a nice design. I then proceeded to start building a Geonosian spire for the top of the factory. As you can see, I used some rocket ship pieces here, and then I started attaching the Duplo pieces as well as a topper with normal bricks, and the final product was something pretty sweet looking. Much better than I personally expected, and I actually ended up falling in love with this design, so I actually ordered more Duplo pieces and will be using those more in the future. The next section is this right here. This is a brand new piece that just got introduced in that new 4+ Temple Lego Star Wars set. I'll be attaching this spire to the Droid Factory in just a few minutes, but let's now get on to the foundation of the factory. So this bottom half of the Droid Factory, or you could call it a basement of the Droid Factory, is going to have multiple different rooms that I'll talk about more in the future. The next step is to start building the actual skeleton that will be the final Droid Factory. So now let's quickly rewind and let me explain what you just saw. What on earth did I start to create? Honestly, I call it the Wedding Cake Droid Factory, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But here's the prototype design of what I originally came up with. It's basically just some hinges attached to brick plates with some Technic pieces. That is the simple framing of the factory. I also had these pins here on the bottom foundation in order to lock in this bigger structure. That keeps the entire factory skeleton from moving around. So you might be curious about the strange shape. First off, it's basically a giant cone or wedding cake cut in half, and that inherently has a lot of engineering problems. When you cut a circle in half, you pretty much lose all the rigidity and you end up compromising the structure. So in order to compensate for that, I had to build columns, specifically Technic columns. So as you can see, I installed 4 base columns with these pillars that extend outwards. The pillars are what attaches to the second layer of the factory. Just like the first level, you'll notice that I'm using Technic pins that snap into those pillars that extend outwards. Now, because those pillars are now supported with columns, there's no issues except for the endpoints of where there might be weight distribution problems. So in order to fix that, I added 2 more larger columns on each side. The final layer of our wedding cake is, of course, the top side or the roof. You'll notice here that I'm using tons of different Technic bricks, and I actually ended up using brackets on the side to make this thing literally indestructible. It's got multiple layers, and of course it has some Technic pins on the bottom that inherently connect to the rest of the structure. The Technic pins go very easily into Technic bricks, and it's a very simple process of literally creating this giant cake. Now, you might notice that some of these panels bend a little bit. That's on purpose in order for things to fit properly and give a little bit of wiggle room. Now, you might be wondering about the weight. There's obviously going to be a lot of bricks on top of this factory, so I tested it with 3 Republic gunships, and my entire design works perfectly. Now, this skeleton of the factory is very much a work in progress. This is not what the final factory will look like. This is simply just the inner structure of how I'm going to be able to transport this. It needed to be able to separate into multiple sections in order to take it to Brick Fair, Virginia. And speaking of those sections, let's talk about the panels now. Funny enough, the gap between the 2 brick plates where the hinge sits is actually solved by simply using some brackets and cheese slopes. It was the exact angle of a cheese slope, which just worked out perfectly. And then what about that Geonosis spire that I was showing with those Duplo pieces? Here's what it looks like on top of the factory. This is not final at all. This hopefully will give you guys an idea of how tall the factory will be. It's worth remembering that this is all a work in progress, so this spire that sits on top is not the final design. Don't worry guys, I'm going to make it a lot thicker. So last week I ended up creating 4 different panel designs. I've been back and forth about how I want to achieve the snot design for the side panels of the factory. So I'm going to let you guys vote down in the comments below. I've got 4 different designs, 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. Now I personally like the design number 1. Let me know what your favorite number design is down in the comments below and why. In the next Geonosis episode, I'll announce what panel design I go with and of course proceed on doing that for the rest of the factory. But overall, I would say it is really cool seeing the factory in its full height now. Obviously, the inside needs motorization, and that won't come until after Brick Fair, Virginia. But I'm really excited now that we're getting the final, bigger picture of this MOC. This was the last puzzle piece to be filled. So make sure you're subscribed, got notifications on, because you're not going to want to miss these final updates leading up to the finale of Building Geonosis, where I still have one giant surprise left to be revealed.